Hello, warriors. Welcome to part 2 of B's top 88 tips to help you survive your Kundalini awakening. If you didn't catch part 1 with the first 44, hop on over and check that out. I am listing out all of my top tips to survive Kundalini awakening in in 2 part long video so that you can just look in one place. Otherwise, you can go and scan through all of my videos that will have longer videos on each of these that I'm listing out for you. So I have lots of playlists. That's the best way to navigate if you have a particular issue that you're looking for in relation to it's physical, it's a body, it's a food, it's emotion, it's narcissistic abuse, it's trauma. Check out all the different playlists to help you navigate and find more information on all of these. These I'm trying to do as quick as I can, but once I start talking about something that I'm interested in, it's like, boom, I get into it. So I did turn this into 2 parts because at the hour-and-a-half marker in the last video, I was like, I needed a break. I needed to take a break. So here is part 2. And where we left off was talking about balancing masculine and feminine energies. And I've touched in that in different videos but I've never done a specific video for what is divine masculine energy, what is divine feminine energy. If you want me to do a video on that, I certainly would. However, we can look at it from the basics of points of view as in that yin yang, that rest, that action-oriented. And in society as a whole, we are a very action-oriented, masculine-dominant society. Not just in our 3D makeup, but that then goes into our spiritual makeup, that we become more masculine dominated in regards to, we push ourselves past our point of our body's ability to handle it. We take things like caffeine to keep us going when we really should be resting. We work longer hours than we technically should. And over time, when we are out of balance between the masculine and the feminine energies, what will happen is you will develop dis-ease or illness. And so on this awakening path, spirit will come along and say to you, it is time now to learn how to rest. And so I have talked about that a good bit. Because it is while we are resting that Kundalini is absolutely doing a lot of work for us. So just because we think that nothing's happening doesn't mean nothing is happening. There is a lot happening in the rest phases. And on your awakening journey, you go through many different phases that I've outlined before, but one of them, which is post your dark night of the soul, and you can bounce in and out of dark night of the soul and into the void energy. And dark night of the soul is very masculine energy. You're doing a lot. You're deep diving into the dark places. You're doing inner child work. You're doing shadow work. You're feeling the emotions. And then that is followed often with a void phase. And the void phase is a feminine energy, and not much is happening. You feel a sense of disconnection. It feels like stagnation. Nothing is happening. What is going on? That's because you need to recover after all of the heavy duty lifting that you were doing during the dark night of the soul. So we bounce back and forth between the 2 energies and the 2 phases so that we can learn how to better balance those energies. We also need to be in the feminine energy more so that we can learn to sit in our intuitive knowings. So I started early on and I mentioned meditation already. If you're not doing meditation, that's going to be a surefire way to help get you into a more feminine energy and get yourself in alignment with your third eye and your intuition. Number 46 ties into that because cultivating a sense of faith is huge on your awakening journey. And now that doesn't mean faith in regards to following any one particular religious doctrine, I don't follow any one particular doctrine. I am an omniist. What does that mean? It means that I subscribe to the belief that all religions have value, as well as all religions have a whole bunch of mistruths in there as well. I don't believe in any one particular religion offering you anything, because faith at the end of the day has absolutely nothing to do with religion. Religion just happens to be a pathway to faith. So there are many pathways to faith, and no matter what your background is, and if you have religious wounds, which is possible, you may find that the path towards a spiritually based faith looks a little bit different than the ones that you were raised with. I myself wasn't raised with any particular faith. Instead, I looked to them all to try to find answers, and you can find very valuable truths embedded in all faiths, because when you get yourself on a spiritual awakening path, you need to surrender, and it's very difficult to surrender if you're, what am I surrendering to? Is there anybody looking out for me? What is happening? Am I being possessed by aliens? What is this soul stuff happening? So the more you can have faith that everything is being moved for you, for your greatest good, for your, to bring you into something, is going to help you a lot if you can cultivate a certain degree of faith. Number 47 is discipline. The one thing that I have found along this awakening journey, and if you have, again, seen my before and after photographs, you wouldn't have gotten the results that I have got if there was no discipline. And so that means that every single day you're going to commit to doing certain things. Of this list that I've provided you, you may not do all 88 in every single day. Absolutely not. But at any given time, you need to commit to certain things depending on what phase in your spiritual awakening you're in. So if we look at my beginning phase, when I got my wake-up call, I had the daily discipline of going out and walking and pilgrimage, as I talked about in the last video. I also was very disciplined when it came to my food. In doing so, I lost 130 pounds and cured multiple diseases, discomforts, and a whole bunch of inflammation and imbalances within my physical body. So learning mastery over your body through discipline is going to be required on any spiritual awakening path. And there will be many different times that you'll be called to do certain things daily to help get you through the darker energies of dark night of the soul. And, daily practices of grounding, daily practices of yin yoga, daily practices of breath work, daily practices of prayer, daily practices, get the point, daily practices. And as you pick up daily practices, some are going to work for you and become lifelong things, and others might just be for an interim phase on your awakening path. But the more disciplined you become, the easier it is going to be for you to navigate through this awakening process. You cannot go through a spiritual awakening and go through the same dramatic shifts and changes that I managed if you are not disciplined. Number 48 is the practice of prayer. Has, for me, been exceptionally necessary. One, to help me cultivate that faith that I was talking about, as well as to help soothe me through dark night of the soul. I went through dark night of the soul kind of in and out of it for the last 2 years. It's been virtual hell. It has been a long, arduous journey with a lot of difficulties. I had multiple rounds of spiritual emergency, aka spiritual crisis. And at times I thought I was losing my mind. At times I thought that I would die. At times I was overwhelmed and in extreme anxiety and terror, and there was nowhere for me to go or no one for me to turn to. I did not want to go and report my symptoms to a medical doctor because I knew they would not understand a Kundalini awakening in the town that I'm in. I didn't feel safe doing that, and not telling anybody to not do that. I'm just explaining that unless you go to somebody that has some knowledge of Kundalini awakenings, going and saying, I'm having all of these symptoms through the lens of somebody who's traditionally trained through psychiatry or psychology, they aren't going to be able to understand. There is a branch of psychology known as transpersonal psychology, and if you can get assistance through that, and that's on my list later on, that is the one area that I would recommend you go to. Otherwise, understand the best place to go is to God, to the Creator, to Spirit. And so cultivating a daily practice of prayer. And some days that was all I did from morning that I woke up until I finally managed to get to sleep at night. I was curled in the fetal position in a constant state of prayer. Please heal me. Please heal me. Please get me through this. Please see me through. So however you choose to pray and to whomever you choose to pray to is up to you, but prayer is without question one of my top tips for you. Acceptance of isolation. So when you are on a spiritual awakening, you need to accept the fact, sorry, my butt is starting to burn. I got my heater on. When you are going through an awakening, you have to learn that, sorry, move that out of the way. You have to learn to be in isolation and accept the reality that you will be hermited. And that is also for your highest and greatest good. You will lose people. That is part of the process. That doesn't mean you'll never see these people again. Maybe you will, maybe you won't. But it is an internal journey. As I said, this is about saving yourself, being your own guru, learning to love the fuck out of yourself, which means learning to accept that you are alone. Now, you're not alone when it comes down to it, because you're moving and you're shifting from individuation into collective consciousness. And so there are many of us going through this spiritual awakening that are right there with you. You just can't see us. There is also spirit and your spirit teams that are right there with you. You just may not feel connected to them. But this process of isolation and learning solitude, as opposed to having old attachments, and for me, attachments to people was the hardest thing to let go of, because I was raised in a narcissistic environment. Growing up, I learned codependent coping mechanisms, and attachments to people became anxious attachments to people. I wanted to hold on to them for dear life. And Spirit said, no, you need to learn to become a self-contained individual in your own power, on your own right. And to do that is going to require you being isolated for a period of time. So the sooner you accept that you are just isolated for a period of time, and yes, you will have times when you feel lonely, and then you'll go back to the self-soothing methods that I talked about in the other video. You will have times where you will feel like, oh my God, am I ever going to have anybody? But the more what you resist persists. So the more you fight against the loneliness and you don't accept that you are in isolation for your highest and greatest good, the harder and more difficult it will be for you. Number 50 is breath work. I highly believe that breath work is a fundamental thing that you will learn along this awakening paths. There are many different styles of breath work available to you. Just doing a basic Zen breath where you're focusing on the exhale and doing, long into the belly breathing, doing box breath, or doing very long, intense breathing routines. And I have a playlist called Breathwork that I highly recommend that you look to, especially if you're trying to transmute trauma and clear stuff. You're feeling stuck. You're like, oh, I need to purge, but I just can't cry. I'm feeling angry, but I just can't go anywhere. I don't know where to go. I don't know what to do. Try one of the hour-long breaths works, because that breath, that air energy is going to help shift and clear out whatever is stuck. Ding, 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 warning, warning, warning. Don't do an hour-long breath work if you're in the middle of a dark night of the soul and you're wanting to soothe or calm the energy. Then go back to slow breathing. Slow, long, relaxing breathing. As I said, those intense breathings are incredibly powerful for releasing rage, releasing inner child work, releasing trauma. But if you're already in a state of releasing and it's becoming overwhelming and it's too much, obviously don't do more, do less. Go back into slow and steady breath work. A box breath is one that I have used throughout my awakening, which is a 4 count in, 4 count hold, 4 count exhale, and 4 count hold. And just do that for 10 minutes to help bring the anxiety, the panic, the terror, the fear back down, and it will help dramatically. Number 51 is the Ho'oponopono prayer. This is a specific prayer designed by a gentleman. It's part of the Hawaiian culture, and this one particular gentleman used it in a prison and noticed amazing results. So I have used the Ho'oponopono prayer in parts, in segments. I've segmented it out. If you don't know what the Ho'oponopono prayer is, it starts with, I'm sorry, please forgive me, I love you, thank you. Okay, so you can find recordings of the Ho'oponopono prayer, or even better, I recommend you make your own with your own voice, and whatever it is that you're needing of those, divide it by 4. And I have done so many nights where I am just listening to, I am sorry, I am sorry, I am sorry, I am sorry, because as all that inner child work and all those traumatic wounds from your childhood surface, you're going to feel all kinds of feelings. And one of the things that you're going to feel is really kind of upset and angry that nobody showed you any compassion. So learning compassion, okay, which ties into this, learning compassion for self means showing yourself the compassion that you never received as a child. So just holding yourself and I am sorry, I am sorry, I am sorry, I am sorry. And if you're going through a certain stage of your awakening where you're dealing with facing some of the icky stuff that you may have done, please forgive me, please forgive me, please forgive me, or I forgive you, I forgive you, I forgive you. I forgive you for making those choices that you made and when you didn't know any better. I forgive you for the mistakes that you've made. I forgive you for not seeing what you couldn't see. I forgive you, I forgive you. Thank you. Thank you for everything that you've done for me. Thank you, body, for getting me where I need to get. Thank you for keeping me alive. Thank you for, having all these crazy coping mechanisms that were designed to keep me safe. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. I love 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 you. And just keep whatever you need to hear, say it to yourself over and over and over again. Those 4 phrases are life changing. It sounds simple, but most simple things are profound because they work. Number 52 is fast, or fasting is a huge part of this journey. What I talked about discipline already, discipline over your body and discipline over your eating is going to come into play. I have found that the more I have listened and tuned into my body will naturally, instinctively know when to fast. I don't subscribe to saying, the 11th of October, and therefore this special moon rising is happening, and therefore I need to fast. No, I don't care what's happening outside of me. I don't care what my ego thinks about it. I care what my body has to say. And if I personally am going through a round of dark night of the soul, I find fasting I'm naturally inclined to do it, because I'd rather the Kundalini be pushing things out as opposed to trying to digest. When I hit a void phase, I'm all of a sudden eating and eating and eating and making up for what I was doing in the dark night of the soul phase. In the dark night of the full soul phase, my body wanted to fast. That didn't mean that I gave it absolutely nothing. I gave it what it wanted. And normally what it wanted was no more than a smoothie at the heaviest, but mostly just liquids. So a liquid diet for a couple of days is not going to kill you. A lot of people do just water. Some people do intentional fasts where they do the lemonade, the master cleanse fast, which is water with lemon juice, cayenne pepper, maple syrup. You can do that if you want to do that. Or just, a fruit juice cleanse. As I said, to keep my strength up, I would do a smoothie that had some protein powder, I have a long recipe for my smoothies. There's just a little bit of everything in there to keep me going. And all I could manage throughout a large portion of my dark night of the soul would have been a smoothie a day, and that kept me going because that was basic fasting. And then sometimes I was just liquid, just teas and just waters, because you cannot do sometimes two things at once. And so if I was deep into the spiritual work and the heavy lifting on that side of things, as I said, it's difficult to do two things at once. And so once that was done, I kind of knew it, because all of a sudden my body would be just craving so much food, and I kept craving heavier foods. And, I'd be making myself root vegetables, craving some grounding from root vegetables. Potatoes always seemed to be like, when I knew that I was out of dark night of the soul whenever I was craving a potato. Number 53 is the teachings of Eckhart Tolle, which is learning presence and the power of now. This has been exceptionally difficult for me. My brain has trauma brain, and trauma brain goes into the past, remunerating, going over the past over and over again, or going into the future and doomsdaying and catastrophizing and freaking out and worrying. If worrying was an Olympic sport, I would have won gold. I'm particularly good at worrying because I can worry about things that will never, ever happen. So learning to be in presence, I am here now and looking around. There's no tiger in the room right now. I am safe, therefore, because as you go through some of the darker stuff, it's difficult to feel safe throughout a lot, and it's difficult. Your anxiety gets activated, and the worry, and then you start getting fearful that you're getting fearful, and you go down a rabbit hole into this spinning out into the realm of emotions in a negative way. So bring yourself back into presence, into the present moment as much as you can. There are techniques that you can use to help yourself, is look around, is touch things, is what am I smelling, is what am I noticing, what am I hearing, where am I, what is, I am here now, practicing presence, bringing yourself always back to the present moment. And listen, your mind's going to go every which way. Minds are fickle. And they're like little monkeys that are going to run this way, and then they're going to run into the past, and they're going to run all over the place. And so the best thing you can do is cultivate the discipline of being in presence as much as you can. Number 54 is learning to express your fire emotions. And I've talked about how you're going to cry, but you're going to have fiery emotions come and surface at some stage. That's your anger, your rage, your righteous hatred. And all of these play a very important role in your awakening, because they start bringing you out of the wetter emotions like crying and grief and all the anguish that you have to go through, and it'll pull you out and up. And understand, and I've done lots of videos on emotional frequency. Emotions are like anything else. They run on a frequency, and so the base emotions of fear and depression and despondency and apathy, those are very low, dense energies. And you need to process through those ones. And then you process through the wet ones, all the, betrayals and crying and all the inner child wounds. And then you get up and you're still going up, 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 up. So, anger is actually a higher frequency than depression. You need to climb the staircase and get angry at some stage in your awakening. That doesn't mean stay there forever, but it means once you're in anger, accept that anger is part of this process and you need to express it. And there are many ways to express your anger that you can use. So hop into my solar plexus video in the chakra playlist to give you some suggestions there. But just off the top of my head, anything that involves fire, doing fire meditation. So light a candle and just stare at a fire, write some hate mail and say all your fuck yous to all the people that you want to say fuck you to, and then burn those letters to release them. Going to a rage room is particularly useful. So release. Anger is a very powerful emotion and it can bring about tremendous change. It can help you step into your own personal power. So express your anger. Don't repress it. Number 55 is standing in your power, that you will be tested on countless times along this journey. On the spiritual level, I was tested on my awakening, and with energies that were overwhelming. Some people talk about spiritual warfare, and I don't like those kind of words because I look at it more like, again, an initiation. Whether you're initiated into like standing up for yourself in your 3D world and escaping from toxic relationships, or you're standing up for yourself in the spiritual world and saying, no, get out, go to the light. I had a couple of situations that were very overwhelming, and until I learned to be in my power and say, no, I clear any energies that aren't in my highest and greatest good. I demand you go into the light. Absolutely not. And so cultivating a process and whatever works for you. I have clearings. There are clearings that you can listen to because ultimately it comes down to that energy of, I am not going to tolerate this. So we are using that energy, that fire energy from the solar plexus of those anger and that righteous rage to step forth and say, no, I am free. So standing in your power is definite initiation on your awakening. Number 56 is clear your energy. Get into the practice of not only washing your body, but washing your auric field. And ways that you can do that is by having salt baths, is by doing your own energetic healing and basically dry brush off your energy. Use sage to clear your energetics and clear the room around you. Burn some incense if you want. So clear, again, making sure that you're using quality stuff. And set the intention that I am clear. Use the power of your mind for visualization to visualize violet or white light coming in and completely cleansing you, as if you're standing in a shower, being just washed over with violet energy, violet or white energies. 57, cultivate a sense of safety and safety practices, because as your nervous system is being zapped with all kinds of energies coming through the Kundalini as it processes through, you may not feel safe. Your 3D world begins to fall around you through different tower moments of everything that is not in alignment with you anymore begins to crumble. And so everything that you once felt safe is being pulled away from you. All your coping mechanisms that you once used to help you feel safe are being pulled away from you. So creating a sense of safety through the practice of mindfulness, and that it brings you back into your body as much as you possibly can. Practice mindfulness. Where am I? I'm in my bedroom. I am safe in my bedroom. These walls are here protecting me in my bedroom. Where am I in my body? I'm feeling the energy of my feet connecting to the earth. I am feeling the gravity holding me on this planet. I am mindful of the air that is going into my lungs. I am mindful of how it feels to wash these dishes. This is the most important thing right now. I am smelling this soap as I wash my hands. I am so present in this moment in mindfulness, in which is going to help assist you with your bringing in a sense of safety. Number 58. This may not be for everybody, but I added it to the list because it worked for me, which is if you have the capacity to get a cat, get a cat. Because, man, in that loneliness, it is nice to cuddle with a little furry creature that also offers you some healing vibrations through the purr. So I'm not going to say more than that. Obviously, not everybody is going to go down to get a pet cat. But, you know, if you have a home and there's a humane society near you that's looking for rehousing cats, just go get yourself a cat. Trust me, they are just so wonderful to cuddle with. I'd be lost without my cat. 59 is learning boundaries. And along this process, you know, we're learning to detach from all kinds of things. And as we detach from things, we need to learn healthier boundaries than a lot of us have had. And so most people that have trauma in their past, which is all people as far as I'm concerned, don't have appropriate boundaries. They either have way thick to broad avoidant style of boundaries, or they have way too thin, like myself, enmeshment style of boundaries. And I've done lots of videos on boundaries as we've been in the energy as of late of really cultivating and learning more about boundaries so that we can keep ourselves safe and protected. And listen, on a spiritual awakening, you are going to have to create boundaries because a lot of people won't know what you're going through. And when they don't know, they're going to just say stupid things that might make you just so frustrated. Like, you know, why don't you just go and get a job or something like that? Or why don't you just go and do something? Meanwhile, you're in the process of doing inner child work and trauma release and dark night of the soul and ego death. And none of those things mean anything to them. So they have no idea what you're actually going through. So even though they may be suggesting to you something that is, you know, they're trying to help, it's not helpful at all. It's minimizing. It's somewhat cruel. So be aware that you're going to need to create boundaries because a lot of people aren't going to understand what you're going through. And as well, all toxic relationships are going to start to fall away from you. So your boundaries might go from nothing to something. Again, it's bringing ourselves back into harmony and into balance. In all realms of paradigms, we are bringing ourselves back into that central place. So if your boundaries were too thick before and you had no contact with people, letting those walls come down a little bit and, maybe reaching out and having some conversations with people is what you're going to be called into doing. And if your boundaries have been way too thin and you just get enmeshed and attached and anxious attachment style to people, maybe developing and cultivating some thicker boundaries is going to be what's called, because on anywhere you are out of balance in your life, you are going to be tested to bring yourself back into balance, which includes boundaries. Number 60 is learning trust. And this one is one that I'm currently working on because when you've gone your whole life getting hurt by individuals because of a lack of boundaries and a lack of personal power and a lack of all the other things that we didn't have before, we have to learn to cultivate trust. And that begins with cultivating trust within and understanding that, yes, I trust my intuitive voice. I trust what I am going through is what I'm going through. I trust that I am my own guru in this situation. I trust that my knowledge and these spiritual hits, these downloads that I get, these knowings, are accurate. I trust myself. And so I can make good decisions about myself in relation to other people, because I don't need to worry whether or not they're good people or bad people. I just need to worry that, hey, if I feel off, I'm going to leave. I trust myself. I trust my ability to make responsible decisions for myself that are good for me. It doesn't matter what's good for other people. That's how we learn to trust other people, is in trusting ourselves, because what they do no longer becomes something we need to micromanage or control or protect us from, because we know we have the capacity to trust ourselves and entrust our intuitive hits and entrust our gut feeling. So cultivating trust is going to be one of the challenges that you may face. Next up, number 61, I want to do a shout out to buyer beware. Many people on their awakening might, in desperation, seek outside help. And as I said, my very first one was save yourself. Okay, so most of my tips and tools are DIY and expecting you to do the work yourself. But there will be times where you feel called and motivated, and I went through this as well, and looked to all kinds of people outside of myself to help me with ultimately something they couldn't help me with because I was having a Kundalini. So I went to acupuncturists, I went to naturopathic doctors, I went to osteopaths, I went to chiropractors, and I spent a lot of money, but ultimately Kundalini was going to do what Kundalini was going to do. In going outside of myself as well, I went to a lot of spiritual people. And I put that in air quotations, and where I started from was buyer beware, because just because somebody says that they are spiritual or wears a white frilly dress or has crystals wrapped around their neck does not mean that they give a damn about you and aren't in their own narcissistic energy. There is a type of narcissism that loves to implant themselves in the healing community so that they can assist others going through their awakenings, and they can assist you by taking all of your money and taking a lot of your energy and pushing you off course. Because they're just care about, it's like a feeding frenzy. You take a whole bunch of very vulnerable people that are desperate for help and desperate for guidance, and that can be a very, very bad mix. I was taken for a lot of money from certain individuals, and I was also led completely astray a couple of times. So I speak from experience on everything on my list, but very much an energy of buyer beware. Do shop around, do read reviews, do your due diligence to check out if the people that you're going to are legit. Because listen, I understand the desperation to get help. And I went to people in retrospect now that I think that was my biggest regret on this awakening path, is turning to certain individuals that did not have my higher and greatest good in mind. They had a way to pocket money. And with this awakening, this global awakening, a lot of people are, it's like flies or moths to a flame, are like, hey, I can make a fortune right now. And I'm going to say, and I'm going to package this, and I'm going to look a certain way. And so, listen, that goes back to the question before, that point before, which learn to trust. If you get icky feelings about something, trust that and go somewhere else, or go right back home and do your own meditation and your own work. Otherwise, you could be out a lot of dollars and be led completely up a garden path. If you are going to go to somebody, and I mentioned this, I'll mention again, is, for some assistance through your spiritual awakening, please make sure that you're going to somebody that has an understanding of transpersonal psychology or their own personal experience of Kundalini. If they've never experienced a Kundalini or they've never read about a Kundalini, they're not going to be able to assist you with a Kundalini. So going to a regular psychiatrist to discuss Kundalini, he's liable to diagnose you with bipolar disorder. And you don't have a bipolar disorder, you have a Kundalini. So make sure that you are speaking to somebody that is educated to deal with what it is that you're going through from a spiritual perspective. As well as that, I would highly recommend that you look for somebody that is trauma informed, whether they have gone through their own personal experience of dealing with trauma. And a couple of questions that you can ask them is, are you familiar with the teachings of Gabor Mate? Are you familiar with the teachings of Bessel van der Kolk? Are you familiar with the teachings of Peter Levine? If they answer no, then you say, thanks very much, have a good day, I'm going to keep looking. That is those two areas, so transpersonal psychology as well as trauma informed, would be the only people I would recommend seeking out for guidance to assist you. Otherwise, if you're in a country where you have access to a guru, sure, maybe do check that out. I don't know. I can't speak from personal experience. I've never had a guru. The only teachers I have had on my spiritual awakening is my own spiritual background as a Reiki master and the lessons that I learned. And then I turned for guidance to Christina Lopes and one of her courses, as well as I took a course from Gabor Mate to help me through, not through the awakening lens, but through the trauma lens, because I had so much trauma that was surfacing, and I found that to be very useful. I also educated myself, which I also mentioned earlier on, through a lot of authors that have been hugely, profoundly beneficial on this awakening. And there, I have a book list, but just off the top of my head, I'm going to say Pete Walker, Gabor Mate, Bessel van der Kolk, the Groffs, for the Stormy Search for Self is a book that I'm going to shout out to anybody that's going through a particularly dark phase on their spiritual awakening, and feels like too much. So moving along, we go into point number 63, which I want to make is you are not going insane. It feels like you are. So my top tip is to write down something on a piece of paper nearby to remind you, as whenever you need it, I am going through a spiritual awakening. And when you start to feel like maybe your mind is melting, because your mind is melting, and that's for a reason, because it's ego that is melting away. The mental processes are going through dramatic shifts and changes, and it feels to you like perhaps insanity is setting in, confusion and not knowing. So remind yourself on a piece of paper, I am having a Kundalini awakening. I am going through a Kundalini awakening. And in those moments when you feel like you're going absolutely loopy, go back onto YouTube and type in what are the symptoms of a Kundalini awakening. So you can remind yourself that everything that you're experiencing is a Kundalini awakening. Because trust me, when the moments when you feel like the energy has hit the head and you feel that sense of confusion, you may be tempted to call somebody for emergency because you're losing track of what's happening. And so put down on a piece of paper near you, you are not going insane. This too shall pass. Number 64 that ties into that is you are not dying. And trust me, I know from my own personal experience going through ego death multiple times, it feels like you're dying. You think you're dying. I wrote a letter on what to do in case my body was found on a bed because I thought I was dying. And worse than that is there'll be times in your awakening that you may perceive this thinking that you're dying, that you have to die, that is the only choice that you have to make is death. And you are not dying. Your ego is. Your ego is dying, and your ego is fighting back tooth and nail because your ego doesn't want to die. Your ego wants to be in control. It wants things to be status quo. And so as the Kundalini is moving its way through your consciousness and collapsing your identity, it might feel like death. You are not dying. You are not dying. And maybe you need to write that on a piece of paper as well to remind yourself that you are not dying. With that, you also want to write on a piece of paper, this won't last forever, or this too shall pass, to remind yourself while you're in the thick of it, when you're going through the dark night of the soul, when you're going through ego death, this too shall pass. Get a spiritual buddy if you can, to remind you, so you can take turns reminding each other that this too shall pass, or write it on a piece of paper, this too shall pass. It does feel like when you're going through it, in the worst of it, when you're having back in what I call child mind and you're reliving traumas from 40 years ago, there's a sense of timelessness. And when there's timelessness, it feels like you're going to be stuck in whatever you're stuck in forever. But you're not. You're not going to be stuck there forever. And listen, I understand that sensation more than you can possibly know. And I have a couple of buddies that are there to remind me it is going to pass. This too shall pass. Give yourself a day. Give yourself 3 days. Give yourself a week. If it hasn't passed in a week, then maybe you want to reach out and see that there's something maybe more going on, because once you get into the routine of okay, you're right. I've got the reminder, you're right. I survived this last year. I survived this last month. I survived this. And for me, I went through stages where, at the beginning, it felt like kind of 5 to 10 days. And then it went down to like kind of 5 to 7 days, and then 3 to 5 days, and then 3 days. And then, and I'm not saying it was like nice, perfect, because sometimes it would be more and sometimes it would be less. But I've been in and out of that state. Geez, I don't know, over 8 times at least at this stage. So yes, it won't last. Whatever phase you're in, it won't last. You're in the void phase, that won't last either, even though it's frustrating and you feel like, oh my God, I'm trapped in here. Yeah, that won't last forever either. So number 66 is a recommendation to purge your clutter around you and the amount of attachments you have in the outside world as well. All your attachment to things, the energy will flow greater if you Marie Kondo your life. If you don't know Marie Kondo, she's all about, do I love this? No. As your identity begins to collapse and shift, a lot of the things that you used to be attached to and have great fondness for, like my grandmother knitted me this sweater, you'd be like, yeah, she may have knitted this sweater, but I have memories of my grandma. I don't need this sweater. It doesn't even fit me. Haven't worn it in 20 years. I'm going to donate it to somebody that is. So your identity is going through such a complete and utter shift that a lot of the things that you have, you may have zero need for anymore. Clear it out. Donate it. Let the energy flow. Just purge, purge, purge. Purge on the inside, purge on the outside. Talking about purging on the inside, you're going to grieve. Purge, 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 and grieve. Grieve for the child that didn't get to the childhood the way that they should have. Grieve for the relationships that didn't turn out how they should have. Grieve for the mistakes and the person you were that didn't get the life that they wanted, or had those horrible experiences, or whatever it is. Grief is a complicated and necessary part of the process. On an awakening, you need to cry, you need to release, you need to grieve, grieve and grieve and grieve some more. I have been grieving and grieving and grieving. 3 years of grief been processed through this awakening for me. And it's amazing the shifts and the changes that come along with allowing myself to grieve and allowing myself to soothe and in the process of grieving, it's like soul retrieval. You're bringing back those inner child into self, into wholeness, and you're holding them again, and you're saying, "I'm so sorry that happened to you, and I love you, and absolutely, I'm going to process those emotions that you've been holding on to for all of these years. Now, I'm going to allow myself to finally grieve." 68, accept that there will be physical pain and discomfort, and that's a part of this process. You may go through a phase where you're like, oh my God, this is wrong with me, that's wrong with me, I'm having this symptom, I'm having that symptom, I'm having this wrong, what is wrong with me? And understand that's a natural part of the process of the physical purge that is occurring, that as the Kundalini is pushing all of this stuff up and out of your system, all the denser energies, it has to escape somehow. So it only can escape so many routes that I've talked about in different videos. Tears through your nose, through your mouth, through your urinary, through your defecation. So you might have stomach upset and all of a sudden you're on the toilet all weekend. You might have pain in your abdomen. You might have pain in your sinuses. You might have headaches. You might have there's so many ascension symptoms that you might experience on this. And if you run to somebody every single time you have a symptom without remembering, oh, that's right, I'm having a Kundalini. So yes, do go to the doctor if you're having heart palpitations and you're concerned you might be having a heart attack. But don't be surprised when you go there and they run all their tests that it comes back completely fine. No, your heart's fine. But you're like, but I'm in physical pain. There's something going on. And yes, that's because your heart chakra is clearing out the stuff that doesn't belong in that chakra anymore. And the same can be said with any other chakra. So get familiar with the chakra system. Go watch my video on the chakra playlist. There's some great information there. And if you have any questions, feel free to leave them for me in the comments. Number 69, if you struggle with being in the present moment, in the now, I'm going to suggest one of the activities that you do to fill your time with is to start puzzling. Get a puzzle, go to a charity shop, pick up an old puzzle. It doesn't need to be a fancy puzzle or anything like that, because you cannot do worrying and this, that, and the other when you're looking for very specific puzzle pieces. It brings you into the present moment. And so doing those types of activities might assist you in helping you cultivate a presence practice. It doesn't mean you have to do it all the time. It's not a disciplined activity, but it's just kind of a side note that along this awakening, I've done puzzles and I've really found them quite useful. Otherwise, maybe you want to do number 70, which is to start doing some art. It doesn't matter what kind of art, sketching. I took up using pastels. I used to be a painter. It really doesn't matter. The point is, again, you're in presence and you're creating and you're allowing your inner child to play. Get a coloring book if that's all that is your skill set. Do something artistic and creative as you're going through this process, because one, it's expression, but two, it's also very, very gentle and soothing energies that can assist you. And you won't be able to do it in the dark night of the soul, but very useful for you in the void, because you're like, I'm so bored. What do I do? I don't have anything to do. Well, do some art, do some coloring. Otherwise, another creative venue is to journal, is to write, I write on Facebook little bits every single day. You might do journal entries. I also have a journal as my truth journal. Every time a new piece of truth came dropping down on my head like an anvil, I would write it in my truth journal, because so much of my reality shifted, and most of everything that I ever believed to be true turned out to be lies. So that takes time for your brain to go, wait, what now? I thought that. None of those things are true. Now all of these things are true. So keeping a truth journal became very important. Maybe you want to write letters to individuals that have hurt you in the past and then go burn them. Maybe you just want to write them and not burn them. Maybe you want to proofread them and sit on them before you hit send. But doing some writing, even some creative, just allowing yourself to write, flow writing, where you're not have any purpose whatsoever, or you just do some inner child writing where you're just letting the stuff just flow out of you. Again, it's a way to help assist, clear out some of the stuff that's been stuck in you for a lifetime that might need to come out and be expressed. 72 really probably should have been 1, but that's okay. I had 1 was save yourself, but 72 is surrender. Surrender and surrender some more. You will be forced to surrender and surrender some more along this process. Any thinking that you once had control over anything is swiftly going to be taken away from you. And the sooner that you learn to surrender to Kundalini, surrender to spirit, surrender to divine time. Yawn. Divine time is like island time on slower than that. It's the slowest of slow sometimes while you're in the void energy, and it's not fast enough when you're in the dark night of the soul. So the sooner that you surrender to your emotions, allowing them to be processed, surrender to whatever is happening around you, surrender to the flow. The flow, as I said, it can go fast, it can go slow, but you need to surrender, and surrender some more. There is zero control you have if you are experiencing a Kundalini awakening. The Kundalini is now in control of your life. 73, accept you will change. If you hold on for dear life to your identity, it's going to be a lot like not surrendering, and a lot like resisting keeps things persisting. You know, if you're angry because your whole life you've loved football and now all of a sudden you can't tolerate it, then you're kicking yourself in the foot, because maybe that's not what your soul wants you to be focusing on. Absolutely everything about you might change. My style of dress changed, the way that I talked changed, the way that the things that I was interested in changed, my likes, my dislikes, my everything. I have known people that have woken up to the reality that their sexuality has changed, that their concept of gender has changed. There was a period of times where I was kind of contemplating myself because I feel very non-binary and the gender woman doesn't really fit with me. And I'm like, well, it's just a label, doesn't really matter. Except for form, you know. But you are going to change. So the more you accept that you're going to change and no longer people, things, situations just might not resonate with you anymore. There's no control over that. Over time, you will see dramatic shifts and changes, not only in your physical, but in your emotional, but in your mental. In every single realm, you will feel like you're a completely different person. I am not the same person that I was 5 years ago. I am not even remotely close to that person. That person is dead. And so go back to number 67 and grieve the person that you once were, because you're not going to be the same person going into the awakening as you are coming out of the awakening. Next up, I have hum and sing. Your nervous system gets, as I said, there's a lot of energy that's flowing through your nervous system throughout this awakening process. And so your vagal nerve runs down your neck. So there's actually like science behind humming and singing. Because the vibration that it gives onto your neck is very beneficial for your nervous system to help regulate it again. Because coming out of Dark Night of the Soul, like this last year has all been about regulating my nervous system. I went through living fucking hell. And trying to regulate my nervous system has been very difficult. So occasionally I find myself around the house just humming along or singing, usually to Les Miserables for whatever reason. That seems to be one of my theme songs that I play is music from Les Mis. And I'll sing along to that just to help bring me into a place of safety again and make that nervous system feel calm. Number 75 is all about functional eating. And listen, I've done a lot of playlists on food. And if you want more information on the types of foods that I think you should be eating, I can certainly do that for you. But otherwise, do your own research on what foods provide you with the most nutrition. The more you get a disciplined attitude over your food is going to assist you. So if you start treating yourself like everything I put into my body needs to serve a function. Okay, this fish has got omegas. This berries has antioxidants. This yogurt has probiotics. So what does the food have? What is the food that you're giving yourself have? If it doesn't have a value, if it doesn't have a function other than it just tastes good or it makes me feel good, then those types of foods aren't helping you on your spiritual awakening, because the more you get your body into alignment and physical health, the easier the flow of energy will be. So the foods that you should be consumed should be from the mindset of what is this providing for me. 76, a tool that I used quite frequently has been a massage gun that I purchased. Otherwise, if you have access to a masseuse, that can help you, because as I said, you'll experience a lot of aches and pains as the Kundalini pushes through and clears out stuff on the physical. I would develop extreme physical pains, and I love my massage gun. It's one of my favorite tools that I have got during my awakening, and I highly recommend one. Mine's just like a little cordless gun that has a ball on the end of it and goes and goes deep into the tissues to help release whatever's trapped in there. 77, herbal remedies. Because I went off all of my pharmaceuticals and all of my coping mechanisms, I needed something to help me with my anxiety, especially over this last year. because as I said, this last year has been insanity. And what I have been using is 1 month of St. John's wort and then 1 month of ashwagandha. And then rotating back and forth, as well as rescue remedy is another one that I have used at times, and a lot of chamomile tea, a lot, as well as sleepy time teas to assist me to also soothe. So anything that's herbal that is calming, relaxing, soothing for you, I strongly recommend. Please note, very important, do not take St. John's wort if you are on any SSRIs or SNIs. Both of those have counterindications. Be very aware that herbal remedies as well as pharmaceuticals do not always blend. Do not take St. John's wort if you are on other medications. Please check that there are no contraindications for you to take it. Yes, it is a plant, but it does not react well and can cause serotonin syndrome in your mind. So you don't want that. Number 78 is learn to start collapsing paradigms. And this is a big one. You're like, what? No. Duality. When we start to see ourselves on one side and somebody else on another side, I am good, they are bad, I am a student, they are a teacher. Start identifying and observing that there are constant paradigms at play. And so even in my own personal situation where I have been, I am an empath, they're a narcissist, we are collapsing that and bringing it back into central places. And so we do that by bringing ourselves into central places. So in any particular energy, you can collapse a paradigm by bringing yourself in with the opposite energy. So, I am empathic. And so if I introduce more self-awareness, self-focus, self-care, self-love, I pull that empath who's used to sacrificing self back into harmony in the center. And if I'm in narcissistic energy, if I pull the opposite energy and start being more empathic and caring for others and sacrificing self, then I'm going to pull myself back into neutrality. The goal on a spiritual awakening is to bring as many of these paradigms into neutrality, into the center. I talk too much. Okay, I'm going to talk less. I'm insecure. Okay, I'm going to create more security. So figure out what it is that you are struggling with, and then figure out what the opposite energy is. And in finding the opposite energy, you can bring yourself back into neutrality. In any realm, what are you struggling with? Figure it out and then flip the switch and give yourself the other things. I don't feel safe, bring in more safety. See? The opposite. Collapse the paradigm, bring it back into neutrality. Instead of being in extremes, if you live your life in extremes, we want to bring ourselves back slowly, bit by bit by bit, on every chakra. And there's so many paradigms, more paradigms than I could possibly imagine. So we bring ourselves back into neutrality, and that duality shuts down. You know, even things like, I am the victim. Well, I may have been the victim in this particular life, but I wasn't necessarily the victim in past lives. So this could be karma, which brings me to my next thing, which is in collapsing paradigms, we start to recognize karmic lessons. And things take on a wider perspective, a bigger understanding, and saying, okay, yeah, in this lifetime, that person victimized me. Maybe in a past lifetime, I victimized them. And so I can have some understanding in this situation. That doesn't mean that we come to a place of, yeah, let's talk about it, this, that, and the other. Maybe in soul, when we're all ensouled, we can go, you got me really good this lifetime. But this is going to help bring us into greater degrees of forgiveness when we understand how karma is playing out in your life. If you need more help understanding how karma plays out, please feel free to drop a comment and I can do a video on that. Otherwise, I know I have done a video on karma in the past. Number 80. Oh, we're getting close, which is good because I'm getting hot. Number 80 is hug yourself a lot. Because you'll be in isolation and because you'll be hermited, you'll be lacking physical contact and physical touch. And so we have to learn to start loving ourselves and start giving ourselves the attention that we need. I have hugged myself through it, especially when having heart activations and your heart and your chest is all sore. You know, it's like, oh, yes, I'm going to hug and care for myself and love myself and it's okay. And, you know, you're doing okay. Touch. Physically touch yourself. And listen, a lot of us were raised to think that was a little bit of a taboo or a little bit of a no-no. Don't be touching yourself. So we didn't. But it's okay. Nobody's going to say anything if you're sitting at home in your bedroom, hugging yourself through your awakening and rocking yourself to try to feel better. Number 81, let go of schedules, give up schedules. Yes, I know a lot of you are going to have to maintain a certain degree of schedules in your life if you have children, if you have jobs and all those types of things. But if you find yourself in a situation where your sleep schedule has gone completely wackadoodle and you think to yourself, geez, it's 11 o'clock and I always go to sleep at 11 o'clock, and soul's like, no, you don't. That is teaching you to surrender, which was one of my earlier points. You will need to learn to surrender, and you surrender any sleep schedule because that's going to go away. You'll go through phases where you're awake in the middle of the night, like wide awake. You'll go through phases where you're waking up at 6 a.m, raring to go. You'll go through phases where you want to sleep till noon. You'll want to go through phases where you don't want to eat. You'll go through phases where you do. And so 3 square meals a day. These are all constructs that have been given to us in the 3D world, that you're supposed to sleep at this time to this time, that you're supposed to eat 3 meals a day, that you're supposed to. If you're thinking to yourself, you're supposed to's, you need to let go of all those supposed to's and surrender to the fact that you have to release time. It's on spiritual time now if your life is being taken over by Kundalini, and Kundalini is going to do things on Kundalini's schedule, not your schedule. 82, go with the flow. Listen, I wanted to punch people when people kept telling me this because this flow was way too slow. For my liking. This was taking way too many years to get me where I wanted to get. And eventually it got to a place where Kundalini kicked my butt and said, if I don't start going with the flow, I'm just going to be miserable. And so I had to accept that, okay, nothing is happening in this phase. There's nothing I can do about it. The more I try to force it, the worse I'm putting myself, and it will only delay it. And understanding that, oh my God, if I try to force this to go any faster, it's going to actually take slower. Okay, I'm resting. Okay, I'm meditating. Okay, I'm taking it easy. I'll do whatever you say. I surrender to the flow. Yeah, not so easy as surrendering to the flow. 83, learn silence. On this awakening path, we are inundated with sound 24/7 coming from everywhere. To sounds of TVs, sounds of your phone, sounds of radio, sounds of children screaming on the street, sounds of talking, sounds of communicating. So one thing that you will be faced with at some time is just learning to be in silence. And that can be difficult for a lot of people. It certainly was for me. I always had headphones in my ears. It was like they were part of me. And I had to eventually listen to spirit and stop and start listening to what was around me. Crickets, listening to the trees, listening to the wind, listening to the birds, listen. And so you can only do that through practicing silence. And there's a reason why monks practice silence at monasteries, is because we fill our lives with too much coming in that we are no longer connected to what is around us. So as a mindfulness practice, practice silence. That means you be silent, disconnect from your phone, put it down. Start with an hour a day. Can you do an hour? Can you do an hour away from your phone, not touching it? There's a challenge for you. Let me know how you get on with that. Maybe you're going to start with 10 minutes, but start to see if you can bring yourself up to an hour to just go and do something else where you're disconnected from all technology and all sound, and just go and sit in your garden and listen to the crows. Who knows what's coming in for you? Number 84 is body tapping and shaking. As I said, you're going through, so shaking can be a somatic release. If you think of an animal that when they're in a fight, they literally shake it off. And so learning to shake when I've been in anxiety, just really shake, or tapping the energy. Tap. A lot of people do EFT. That wasn't enough for me. I needed to tap everywhere and anywhere and just help the energy clear on out. Dance, move around, move. Shaking, stamping your feet. Getting up and stamping your feet when you're feeling anxious or when you're feeling anger, or put on some drumming music, put on some Rage Against the Machine and thrash around. The more you move your body and shake it out, it's not about, oh, how sexy I look. It's about how I can release this energy that's trapped in me, because if you can help facilitate the releases, it's going to assist you along your way. 85 is learning to feel gratitude and practicing gratitude, even on days when you feel like miserable. If all you can be grateful for is the nice warm sheets that's on your bed, or the fact that you have a roof over your head, you have water to drink, then just practice some gratitude every single day. Cultivate a little bit more gratitude, and you will find more and more things to be grateful for. A lot of people keep a gratitude journal, and in my prayers, part of my prayer practice is always showing my thanks for getting me through this, and thanks for guiding me, and thanks, so do cultivate gratitude where you can in your life, even when it doesn't feel like there's much to feel grateful for. But you have to remember that the Kundalini and your spiritual awakening is for you. So thank you for the healing. Thank you for the shifting of my consciousness. Thank you for helping me release what no longer serves me. Whatever it is that you can find to be grateful for every single day, that is a discipline that you should be doing every single day. 86 is accept the reality that this is going to take time. This is not something that's going to happen overnight. This is not something that's going to happen in a few months. This is likely going to take you years and years and years. And the quicker you get into the realization that this is a process and that healing is a lifelong process, it's not like all of a sudden I'm going to reach a place that I'm fully healed and the angels are going to sing and violins are going to go and there's going to be a ticker tape parade saying, you've done it, you've made it. Yeah, that's death. That is what that is. As long as we are bringing in breath, we are going to be triggered. We are going to be healing. We are going to be processing new emotions and new things as they go through. On this Kundalini, once it's activated, it's activated. Yes, it's going to regulate out at some point in time, but it's going to take time for it to do that. There will be highs, there will be lows. There will not be a steady flow of, yes, this is it, I'm getting better every single day. No, some days are going to be great and some days are going to be terrible. You can just look at it that each round that you go up is like peeling an onion, and you're getting more and more layers of self-awareness and self-discovery and healing this and healing that, and it just goes on and on and on, and it takes time. The concept of time is part of a human reality. Number 87. Be in the observer as much as you possibly can. Observe from a higher self. Imagine yourself observing your emotions, observing your thinking, observing your surrounding, always eyes open, watching, observing, because the more that you get into a practice of observing and not taking ownership of anything, look, I'm sitting with sadness is some way I like to describe my emotions, as in, it's with me, but I'm not it. It's not me. It's not taking over me. It's not destroying me. It's just in existence that I'm sitting with anxiety. I'm processing through anxiety, but I am not anxiety. I am observing the anxiety running through my body. I am observing my physical body experiencing physical pains, but I am not my body, and I am not these physical pains. They are just with me at this present moment in time, and I am observing them. The more you practice from a place of your higher self, the easier it's going to be for you to transmute through some of the more difficult stuff that you need to go through. And number 88, our last one, is accept what is. Whatever it is, accept it. We have all these qualifiers that we like to place upon everything in life as good and bad and distasteful and unpleasant. And we put all these qualifiers. Oh, I don't want to be sad. I want to be high vibe. I don't want to be bored. I want to be active. I don't want to... It doesn't matter what you want. It doesn't. Be in the observer and notice that is what you're going through, and accept that is what is. If what is you're grieving, I am observing, I am grieving, and that is what is. I'm not trying to change it. I'm not trying to alter it. I'm not trying to force it away, repress it, reject it, or anything else. I'm just accepting that is what is. I am in dark night of the soul. That is what is. What is the question. Keep asking yourself, well, what is? And stop qualifying it as good or bad or anything else. It just is. I am doing a video. It just is. My lower back is in pain. It just is. And so, yes, we can try to help the situation, but if we don't accept it for what it is, we struggle and fight against ourselves, especially when it comes to the emotional realm, much more so than, say, the physical realm. Because if I notice in the physical, my back is having physical pains, then I can observe that is. Now I can do something. I can go lie on my baseball and, massage it out, or put on my heating pad, or I'm feeling emotions. I can lie in it. So I can observe what it is. I accept what it is, but I'm not going to try to numb it, dull it, repress it, deny it, distort it. None of those types of energies. On the awakening, we are learning to be in our authentic truth, and whatever that truth is for us in that given moment is what is. So, what is for you in this moment right now? Get into that daily habit of asking yourself in any moment, what is? What is it I need? What is it I feel? What is my truth? What is? What is it? So that is the end to my 88 top tips on how to survive Kundalini awakening based on my own personal experience. If you have any questions about any of the 88 points, or you would like more information on them, please feel free to leave a comment in the description below. And I want to send out my absolute thank yous to anybody that watched the entirety of my list of 88. You guys are cool. If you would like to book with me because you're struggling with any of the issues that I addressed or brought up on your Kundalini awakening, and you would like to book a one-on-one Zoom, the way to do that is in the description below. Send me off an email. Let me know that's what you're looking for, or get in touch with me over on Facebook, or hop on into the Spiritual Warriors support group. I thank you very much for all of the comments, the likes, the shares, the subscriptions. I thank you very much for all of the donations that I receive, for my time and energy in bringing you information that hopefully will help you on your spiritual awakenings. I love you all with my absolute everything, and send you a hope and prayer that your Kundalini will be a lot smoother than mine. But I had to go through what I had to go through because my soul wants to teach so therefore, part of my awakening has been very much like a shamanistic initiation, which is a different style of awakening. There are many types of awakenings out there. There's your basic awakening, a Kundalini awakening, and a shaman's initiation. And it has not been easy. So you can go into my playlists and find lots of information in Dark Night of the Soul playlist. I think if you're also going through really, really difficult stuff. And with that said, peace out, dudes.